Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, says he will not bow down after a court ordered he be formally arrested and jailed, awaiting trial on charges of corruption. İmamoğlu denies the accusations. He says a part of a smear campaign is calling for mass protests. And protests have been held nightly in Istanbul and the capital Ankara since he was detained on Wednesday. Demonstrators say the charges against the opposition politician are politically motivated. Prosecutors are also seeking terrorism charges against İmamoğlu. The court has not thrown those charges out, saying further action is not necessary at this stage. Well, Axel Zaimovic joins us now from Istanbul. So, Axel, first of all, let's start with the protests. Are they picking up?
Well, Sami, thousands of people are back on the streets for a fifth day running, and they are protesting the detention of Ekrem İmamoğlu. But it's really important to say that security forces are increasing their presence across the city. And despite the ban, despite the governor extending the protest ban for another 4 days, it seems that the crowd is actually growing bigger and bigger by every hour. And most of the people coming here are his supporters of Ekrem İmamoğlu, who say they are defending their democratic rights. One of the supporters here, he told me, we voted for them. He's referencing the 52% of Istanbul voters who actually supported İmamoğlu in the previous local elections. And it's also important to say that his supporters, they are the backbone of these demonstrations, together with university students who are keep coming in increasing numbers. They say they are not politically affiliated, but they are standing against what they call systemic injustice in the country. But we are expecting to see these numbers to go up in a few hours because İmamoğlu's party leadership, they have called for his supporters to gather outside the Istanbul municipality building, and that rally is expected to kick off in a few hours from now.
And Axel, we had that decision by the court today. What happens next in the court case and the legal process facing İmamoğlu?
Well, the legal case is really uncertain because what I'm reading that was officially released by the governors, the prosecutors, and coming from the judges. Currently, no final sentence has been handed down, and it's important to say that one case actually carries a potential sentence of 2 years and 7 months. And speaking to legal experts, they explained that he may actually not serve that prison time due to parole and probation rules introduced in 2020. Of course, İmamoğlu has rights to appeal. He can challenge this decision within the 7 days to regional courts of appeal. If unsuccessful, he can actually take this case to Turkey's Court of Cassation. After he's exhausting all domestic options, he can take it to the Supreme Court and eventually to the European Court of Human Rights. And the entire legal process actually may take between 18 months up to 2 years to complete.
All right, Axel Zaimovic there reporting to us from Istanbul. Well, let's take a closer look at Ekrem İmamoğlu. He's the mayor of Istanbul and a member of the opposition Republican People's Party, or CHP. He's defeated candidates from the governing AK Party 3 times in local elections. A businessman turned politician, he was elected in 2019 to lead Turkey's largest city and economic hub, ending the governing party's hold on Istanbul. İmamoğlu is set to be the main opposition candidate for the presidential election in 2028. That's expected to be announced later on Sunday. Baran Kayaoğlu is an assistant professor with the Institute for Area Studies at the Social Sciences University of Ankara. He joins us from there. Good to have you with us. So how do you read this court decision that's been taken now to jail İmamoğlu until trial? Is it likely to stoke more protests?
Thanks for having me. The answer to your question is yes, at least for a little longer, we can expect the protests to continue. Whether they will continue will all depend on two factors. One is how the government will respond, whether it's by bolstering police presence and cracking down hard on demonstrators, and how the opposition decides to support Mayor Imamolu, who apparently, as you pointed out, will be held in pre-trial detention until his case is first heard by a magistrate. And that, of course, brings to forth several questions, one of which is that if he's not, at least now, being held in pre-trial detention for the terrorism charges, as opposed to the embezzlement charges, is he still going to lose his office? And if he does, whether the government or the city council of Istanbul will appoint a new mayor.
How does it impact his bid? We understand that we're expecting, in fact, that he'll be announced as the CHP candidate for the presidential elections of 2028. How will that be impacted?
Very positively, I expect. There's been amongst those who support both Mr. Imamolu and his party, CHP, there's been a rather something of an increase in the support. As you alluded to earlier, there's actually an internal election within the CHP this weekend to elect the party's candidate, the party's nominee for president. And this recent episode has really helped Mr. Imamolu to surge ahead. The other candidate, the mayor of my hometown, the capital, Ankara, Mr. Mansur Yavaş, so far has expressed support for Mr. Imamolu, but to my knowledge, he really hasn't joined the pre-election, the internal party election to nominate the president. So far, Mr. Imamolu is ahead, but all of the polls show that Mr. Yavaş doing much better against President Erdoğan in a nominal, in a potential election, in a potential run-up in 2028.
How long is it going to take, when we look at the timeline for this to come to trial, for then a verdict to be issued?
One could expect that the prosecution is trying to collect as good an evidence as possible in order not to embarrass themselves or the government. As you know, since 2010, the first time Turkey had this major referendum, when the judiciary was first turned over to the network affiliated with Fethullah Gülen, which then made a series of moves against President Erdoğan in the mid-2010s, most notably with the coup attempt in 2016, there has been an attempt to recast the Turkish judiciary in a way that it would work more professionally, and that has been a struggle, it must be said. So I would expect them to take their time, but the challenge is, of course, as you mentioned, is that they can't take forever. Earlier, while reporting, Mr. Aksel Zaimovic, your reporter in Istanbul, also made this point. Long term, even if Mr. Imamolu is released from pre-trial detention, but he loses his seat, then there's a whole host of processes that will allow him to appeal this decision within Turkey, as well as with the European Court of Human Rights. So it will take, I'm guessing, at least a few weeks for the court for him to have his day in court, if you will. But then it's anyone's guess what's going to happen on his first day appearing before a judge.
All right, thanks so much for your analysis of the situation, Baran Kayaoğlu.
Thank you.